Today, we're going to go into our wealth strategies. And the wealth strategy I have to share with you today is powerful, but above all, is very complex. So I'm going to try to simplify it, or to make it as simple as possible. So let's start with a very basic principle. There's good debt and there is bad debt. And this is part one. There is a part two coming in the next section, next time we meet. So what is good debt and what is bad debt? I'll get into details in the next segment, in part two. But just very briefly, I would like to say that good debt is debt that you use to make investments that will generate cash flow for you, positive cash flow for you. So you get into debt, but the asset you are acquiring with that debt is providing an income that will repay the debt. And what is bad debt? Bad debt is consumer debt. It's like what you do if you start owing money with your credit cards, with your credit from the supermarket chain or from a store. You know, you just start getting into debt to buy consumer products, for instance, to go on holidays or to buy a car, or to student loans, that kind of stuff. That is bad debt. Okay, because the interests are very high, and you get into this kind of spiral, downward spiral, where you seems like you can't get out of it. Okay, so you need to understand these two basic concepts, and we're going to come back to that with more details. But it is important to understand that our society these days works with debt. Okay, we have well, my children say I'm a boomer, but I believe I'm no longer a boomer. I'm just after the baby boomers generation. I'm just the generation immediately afterwards. And so we were raised with saying that debt is really bad. So we believe we shouldn't get into debt. We should pay cash. We should, all these kind of things. But our society has changed completely. Our economy has completely changed. And now, if you don't get into debt, somehow you are losing. And what I mean by this is that you need to learn how to get into debt, but the good debt, not the bad debt. Never the bad debt. Okay? So when I say get into debt, it's good debt. You borrow to buy assets. And those assets pay for the debt. Okay, so let's be very, very clear about that. Now, how is debt created? Because this is how our society is being funded these days. It seems like magic. All of a sudden, in this COVID period, and where people are locked down, businesses are closed. And then the government just says, oh, don't worry, stay home, we'll pay you. Where does that come from? That's debt. How is that debt created? Okay, so it is really important. This is complex, but again, I have drawn a little schematics, and I hope you will. I will be able to explain it properly. So, essentially, if we look at it and put it in very plain terms, it's just that, we need more money, so let's print. Just as simple as that. This is the bottom line. Let's just print more money. Except that they don't print money. They just go to their supercomputers and say, instead of having 1,000, let's just put 3 more zeros there. And all of a sudden, instead of having 1,000 in the bank account, you have 1 million. Okay? This is how it's done. As simple as, it's literally As simple as this. Now, with all the complex explanations around it and so on, but this is in reality what happens, okay? It is called quantitative easing, okay? So I've taken some notes about this so I've written them down, and I'll read them for you. So quantitative easing, okay, this is a QE as it is known amongst in the jargon, in the industry jargon. So QE, it's a monetary policy whereby a central bank buys government bonds, okay, or other financial assets in order to inject money into the economy to expand economic activity. So their goal, their bottom line goal is, let's create some debt, let's inject it into the economy in order to boost spending and investment. All right? So this is what quantitative easing is, QE. Now, just look at this little schematics here. So bear with me now. So we have here the treasury. So the treasury is the one in each country, is the one that creates this money. All right? And then they give this money to central banks. All right? Central banks. And they do this through a bond, for example. This is like what I've just read, in the notes. They say government bonds and other financial assets or instruments, but let's say it's a bond. So you get the money coming to the central bank. And then the central bank will lend that money to the big banks. Okay, BB stands for big banks. So they lend the money. So now they borrowed something that didn't exist but was created. They have the cash, digital cash. They have zeros in their bank accounts. And so they transfer those zeros from here to the big banks. And then the banks will lend, so through debt, they will lend the money to rich people. And the rich, who are the rich people? It's people that can borrow, people that have borrowing capacity. It's people and it's companies. So let's just borrow. I mean, these days, the cost of money is so low that you'd rather borrow, go to the bank and borrow, and use your cash, your own cash, to make investments, because the return you can get on your cash is bigger than the cost of the interest you have to pay on your loan. All right? So you have the rich, or the ones with the capacity to borrow, will borrow the money, and they will inject it in the economy, because they will make investments. But it can be, for instance, students that take student loans. I mean, that is the biggest problem right now. We're talking about trillions of euros, pounds, dollars, okay, in student loans. That's a massive problem, okay? And then you have the regular people that will be paying taxes, and so the government gets some of it back. They will never get it back because they print too much. All right, I'll come back to this in the next session, but this is how it works. All right, so understand this, understand that you have good debt, bad debt, and you need to learn to work with it. All right, that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's quite complex.